So what's going on, everyone? So I know I said I wasn't going to do many edits for my videos, but I'm trying to take it to the next level for you. And with that, I'm going to have to start making them at least between 6 to 8 minutes. I have a lot to say, and some of my videos are a little long-winded, but that's because most of you like that. We're getting a new stream of subscribers in, and not changing up, but I'm going to polish it up a bit. I'm going to show you something that I used to use. Well, I still use actually. I used to use. I say that because this is something I've been doing since I was a kid. You might see some of my craft projects, and they kind of look archaic. They look old. They look, I don't know, just different. But it also captivates you because you can see details of mastery and perfection inside of that chaos. Well, the unorthodox approach to how I actually do these things is and was fueled by my just undying curiosity, inquisitiveness as a kid. I didn't have money growing up, um, but I had all the same drives, all the same curiosities. So I figured it out. I want to introduce you to something called a Jig-Stick. I'm going to make one. I'm going to show you exactly how growing up in a Chicago, I guess, projects, apartments, and all kinds of urban surroundings, I was able to just, I guess, let this creative side out. I'm not going to fill it up with words, actually. If you know, you know. But a Jig-Stick. Let me show you how you can get started. Now, my vocation is the furniture world, and as such, I have a lot of parts. This is like, yeah, it's a 2x3 from a piece of bed framing. So that's what I have available. You can use a 2x4, a 2x3, even a 2x, no, not 2x2. You need at least a 2x3. So get yourself a 2x4 or a 2x3. But this is what I'm choosing just to make it compact. And it happens to have 3 pilot holes already drilled inside of it. Pretty convenient because we're going to be doing the exact same thing. I'll show you. Other than that 2x3 or 2x4, we're going to have some school supplies. We're going to need an Allen wrench. This is called a threaded insert right here. Get a closer look for you. All right, like I said, this is a threaded insert. It's a pretty cool piece of hardware. Honestly, you see them a lot in my industry, furniture, but anywhere that's you need a bolt to thread into another surface, you can put these into concrete. Well, not this one, but they have some for concrete, and this is for wood. So as you can see, it's got threads inside, and it's got like a screw outer side. You screw this into wood, and you're able to screw that into a bolt. But I wanted to show you this. The other school supplies. Keep track of that. Okay. Is this. So this is called a hanger bolt. I added a nut to it right there because we're going to need one of those two that fits it. A hanger bolt is a bolt that instead of having a hexagonal head to it, it just has a screw. So you drill this into the wood surface, whatever you're going to drill into, and now you have something hanging that you can thread. You feel me? Like a planter, hanger, whatever you want that needs hanging shelves. Yeah, we're gonna need one of those. A washer. And an Allen key. Now the Allen key comes in clutch because look at that. What is this called again? A threaded insert. Yeah, check that out. Threaded insert. And you screw it into the wood that way. That's how you don't break them. After that, you can go ahead, and this isn't mandatory, but I like just a little bit of insurance. I add a little bit of super glue, thin stuff, just around the thread, like around the bolted insert. I don't like to do this before it goes in because the friction and there's moisture in the wood, right? As you're screwing that threaded insert in, it'll actually dry faster with super glue. You can use wood glue, whatever, but This is just what I do. You know, this is the stuff you have in your junk drawer in your kitchen. You know, those little freaking aluminum tin bottles. That's how I used it when I was a kid. I think my grandmother did those press-on nails. So I stole her shit. Love you, Grandma. So once you do that, you're basically going to start threading it in. Go ahead and take your washer. Back it up just a little bit. Yep. Look at that. It's a little backwards. That's okay. So we put this nut on there first. Thought this nut would be big enough. My other jig stick is huge. I should make a shirt like that. My other jig stick is huge. And there we go. So now we can take a wrench and carefully shout out to the Kinefix Cobra pliers. These are OGs. And then just kind of tighten it down. Doesn't have to be crazy tight, but that washer is important because we're going to be adding a lot of pressure. So there. All right, now that we have our hanger bolt on one side with that nut, washer, and threaded inserts, this part is optional, but I'd take some spray adhesive and a little slip of leather and put it on this side. But let me show you how this thing's supposed to work. All right, so now that we have a piece of leather there, you can see what I'm doing. Instead of having one of those huge jigs, you know what I'm talking about, the ones that you actually use for this purpose. If you live in an apartment or something, you got a back porch, you don't live in a house, you can get yourself a piece of wood. And you don't have to build yourself a huge workhorse, sawhorse, planing jig. Meat on that. So this, you don't even need to go tight. That's why I like the leather. It actually gives me some friction. That bolts, go to my back porch on the deck, and I'm not telling you people you're renting or you don't own a fucking house, don't make a hole in your deck. But at mine, I drilled a hole, and that threaded insert went, that barrel, the hanger bolt went right into that hole, and I was able to use it. As of now, I just go to my back porch and stick it in the grass, in the ground. Now, some of you will look at this and be like, just make yourself a sawhorse, but those don't really think like that because you've obviously never lived in an apartment in the projects in the hood and had that like fucking spirit just to create and make. So rather than thinking something is just normal and people can just automatically like build themselves a workshop, you should consider some alternatives about maybe being this industrious, inquisitive. And when you have to do things like this, by the time you actually get to your craft projects, you're already far ahead of the game as far as when it comes to dynamic thinking. Because that's what you're trying to do, right? Make something cool. Well, how do you set it up? Do you have obstacles? How do you handle those obstacles? You just cry like a little bitch? Or you get it done? This is 10-year-old me getting it done. Don't let a 10-year-old beat you. That side's not ready for that yet. Let's go for this side. See how good that works? Doesn't fly off. And it doesn't cost a whole bunch of money. It's just one 2x3. Couple pieces of hardware. Let's see, we got a hanger bolt, one washer, a threaded insert, and a nut. A little bit of super glue, and then as a bonus, you can add a little bit of leather. 10-year-old me added leather. Not at first, but I just took an old belt on a 2x4, and I just laid the belt down on its far edge. And then I cut it, and then I laid it again on its other side, and then I cut it and glued it. I didn't really have access to leather like that. I just, figured it out. It's not all about being tough. It's about being expressive and just not being held back by stupid boundaries that you do to yourself. It's about being able to soar. All right, back to whittling. Hope that helped.